Do you want to take control of your health? Hear the truth about dieting and weight loss? Learn the best strategies for maintaining a healthy lifestyle? This is the Yossi Muller Show.
And welcome to the show. I'm Yossi Muller.
And I'm Duddy Muller.
Duddy is a chef with a background in nutrition.
Yossi is a nutritionist with a background in nutrition.
Every show we do, we take another myth and debunk it.
Crush it!
Today's topic is just one plan. People think that in order to succeed at dieting, you create a plan for yourself, and that's the plan that you use. The reality is that you need a plan, but you also need other plans for when you are not able to do your regular plan. You need contingency plans.
Why are people wrong for believing that just having one plan is enough?
Because there are many situations where it is unrealistic to keep your plan.
Right, of course. I mean, you wouldn't feel comfortable if your bus driver knows how to drive only on empty roads with perfect driving conditions. Would you fly a plane in a hailstorm if all you know is the basics of flying? That is inviting disaster. You have to be prepared for the dangers that may present themselves. And what we often don't realize is that life is exactly that, a hailstorm of obstacles for weight loss.
And we need to create contingency plans for all situations that may come up. And we're not talking about Shabbos and Yontif, because that is not an unusual situation. You know when it's coming, and you know the circumstances. So Shabbos and Yontif must be included in the regular plan.
Right. Shabbos and Yontif are over 20% of the year. For that much of your life, it must be included in the regular plan.
Now, depending on a person's discipline, knowledge, or the type of event that we're talking about, we may want to keep it fully within the rules, or we may want to stretch it. Some events are realistic to create a contingency plan that's fully within the rules, and some are simply too difficult to create a plan that is exactly in the rules, and you could be off by 25%, because 25% is an amount that's enough to make it realistic, but it's not too much to throw you off course.
Aha.
And saying, I just won't eat, will not necessarily work.
It doesn't work for me.
If I have a wedding, for example, a contingency plan might be that I have a serving of fruit or turkey at the shmorg.
Okay.
I may choose a healthy-looking main dish and side dish and count that as my supper. And even when it looks healthy, it will have oil and cornstarch in it, but that's my 25% extra allotment. Most diets allow pickles as a freebie. You may allow yourself not only pickles, but also cucumber salad, carrots, olives as a freebie.
Right, so that would be your 25% deviation from your original plan.
But just to go into a wedding and saying, I'm going to wing it, is a big mistake. What happens is you end up eating way more than you think. You end up gaining weight, and it's very hard to get back on track.
Once you actually see the weight gain, then you'll feel bad about it, and it's even harder to get back on. Not only did you mess up the diet, so your body's reacting that it needs more food because you gave it more food.
You're also discouraged because you see the weight gain.
Yes.
But if you have a contingency plan and you stick to the rules, and even if you stretch at 25%, you will not gain weight, and you will feel like you're fully on track, and you'll have no problem getting back on track. If I have a Sheva Brachas, I may have a plan that I don't wash unless I absolutely need to. I may have a rule that I can have extra protein or vegetable type foods at this Sheva Brachas, even though there may be some sauce. I'm not talking about sesame chicken sauce. That is obviously not okay.
Yossi, what about a kiddush?
A kiddush. Dudi, what's a kiddush?
A kiddush is something you have before the meal.
There's a meal right after the kiddush.
Yes.
So what do you eat by the meal?
I'll start with challah.
What's challah?
Flour, oil, sugar.
So a piece of challah?
1 piece? 3 pieces maybe.
3 pieces of challah? You must eat challah by itself.
Oh.
Or with a protein.
With a protein? Well, if mayonnaise has protein, I'll eat it with dips for flavor.
Dips are made out of mayonnaise? Low-fat mayonnaise?
Nah.
Regular mayonnaise?
No.
So what?
The extra heavy mayonnaise that only caterers can get access to.
Is that the only ingredient?
No. Sugar. You gotta have sugar.
And when you're done with the challah, what do you eat?
I'll have some liver.
Liver? Isn't that very high in cholesterol?
No, it's one of the smaller ingredients. There's a lot more oil and sugar in there than the liver, so it's fine.
We just had enough calories for the whole day in 15 minutes. Is that the whole meal?
What? Of course not. No, there's still kugel, there's still cholent.
So kugel and cholent. What's cholent? Is that something that has very fatty meat in it?
I hope so. That's what I'm looking for.
And not only is it fatty meat, you eat fatty meat that whatever fat came out of the meat, you even eat because it's soaked up by potatoes and barley and beans. Starch is saturated with the fatty meat fat.
Of course.
So is that the end of the meal?
No, I still need the kishka, which is starch with a ton of oil, and dessert. How can I not have dessert?
What's for dessert?
Sugar.
That's so interesting.
Sometimes frozen sugar.
So about this kiddush, that's before the meal?
Yes, that's before the meal. This meal that is 3 days worth of calories. Before that, we have to have a kiddush.
What's in the kiddush?
Well, we'll obviously have cake, herring. You'll have kugel, maybe 2 kinds of kugel. You'll have also chalent there.
Is the chalent prepared the same way that it is at home?
Not in my home. We don't own enough oil.
So if I'm at a kiddush, if it's a fancy one that has fruit and salad or picha, not everyone knows picha is extremely dietetic, so I can have it and swap out for my meal those calories. If it's not fancy, maybe I'll just give a mazel tov. It's not worth it.
The gel from the pcha is actually gelatin, which is a protein-based gel. And the calories are mostly protein. You'll have a little residual fat on it, but it's primarily protein there.
And some fiber. So if it's not a fancy kiddush, you could just give a mazel tov. Your host will definitely appreciate it. If I have a bar mitzvah or a bas mitzvah, I'll use whatever contingency plan I have at a wedding. If I have an ufruf or a Shabbos simcha, maybe I'll bring my own matzah, otherwise do reasonable portions. I would consider swapping out foods like very oily chalent and adding more chicken or kolkats or cucumber salad. I'll use chrein as my dip. By a bris, I may have a half a bagel with lox, Israeli salad, maybe a thin layer of egg salad or tuna salad because these foods are not prepared the way I would prepare them at home. By a vart, maybe I'll have some fruit. Maybe I'll even stretch it 25% and I'll count fruit as one serving, even if I have unlimited fruit.
If I have to go to a parlor meeting, I'm just going to go say hello. If that can't work, maybe treat it like a wedding. If you have to be there, as in you're the host.
And if I have a dinner, I could treat a dinner like a wedding. If I'm visiting a hospital, instead of visiting the Bikur Chaylim room, I'll visit the person at the hospital. Visiting a hospital is a situation where having some food in the trunk of your car is useful. If I'm a guest by someone, I treat it similarly to a Shabbos Simcha. If I'm close to the person that I am a guest by, I might even have some say in what's being served. I might be able to bring food or even make food. And if I'm not so close to them, why do I go?
Yeah, good point.
And if I'm having a guest, then you'll be surprised how many people appreciate not being fed ice cream and cake and Viennese Crunch. And they'll be surprised that healthy food can be enjoyable too. We're not pretending that cake and ice cream aren't delicious.
Right. Your guests had cake before they came. There's going to be cake waiting for them at home when they go home.
And you're not really hurting them so badly by giving them a 2-hour break from having cake. It's not like there isn't an abundance of cake and ice cream and candy where they came from and where they're going to. For all you know, they may even be on a diet and they're thrilled that you served healthy food. They might be relieved because 1/3 of women and 1/4 of men are on a diet at any given time. And if they're a guest for Shabbos, they may be embarrassed to even mention it. If I'm not feeling well, that's a big challenge and you need a contingency plan for that.
It's very difficult to use your emotional strength and your mental control when you're weak and you're tired.
People who aren't feeling well may need to eat more bland foods or less solid foods or more starchy foods. So perhaps if your regular plan requires you to have protein or vegetables, you may have a contingency plan that you have more starchy foods, but still the same calories. Instead of a tuna sandwich, I might have 4 slices of bread, but I'm not just going to go to town on the loaf of bread. If I'm traveling, that often means that the foods that will be available to me are less filling, and therefore I may need to eat more to be satisfied. So it may make sense for me to pack food.
Pack food, have dry snacks, small, easy to access snacks.
And an excellent tip is you make your own instant soup powder. Instant soup is very good for traveling because it's light, it takes up no space, and all you need to do is add hot water at your convenience. And if you do it right, it could be extremely filling, extremely low calorie, and if you're on a carb-based diet, it could be low or no carb as well. You start with a nutritional yeast seasoning. That's your base. Nutritional yeast seasoning is very similar to instant soup, but it's wholesome and healthy and filling.
Where can I get nutritional yeast seasoning?
Most big supermarkets will carry it.
Good.
And once you have that, The rest doesn't matter so much. But really, as long as you have a spice cabinet, salt, pepper, parsley, onion, garlic, you're pretty good. If you want to get a little more sophisticated, you could get dried tomato powder. That is hard to find in a store, but easy to find online. You could get dehydrated corn. That's also, if you want to be more sophisticated. You could also get something called TVP, textured vegetable protein. That will give you the noodle type of consistency. It's almost like a couscous made out of soy flour, and that's high protein. And then you have a soup. A typical serving of soup will be 50 calories, almost all fiber, all protein. Absolutely delicious and customizable.
Yossi, you just gave a whole lot of examples of contingency plans and when it's difficult, perhaps adding up to 25% to your regular plan. But even with that extra 25%, it can still be difficult.
For sure. We should offer some suggestions for what people could do when they're in these situations so it's realistic for them to stick to their contingency plan.
So practical tips.
So liquids, coffee, water, seltzer, pickles.
Pickle's not a liquid.
Yeah, but pickles are 99% liquid.
Right. If you drink the pickle juice, you probably won't eat for a while, so that might help.
And if you plan ahead, prepare, stock your car, stock your
Snack shelf.
snack shelf.
Yeah. Stock your snack shelf. Have a snack shelf and stock it.
Notify people at the event, assuming that they actually care about you,
And they're able to accommodate you.
or at least not try to mess you up.
Right. You could bring your own food.
You can eat before.
You can educate yourself.
Of course, right. We said that depending on the amount of knowledge you have, that will determine whether you need to push the boundaries or not. So if you educate yourself, you can go to an event and know what's worth what. You can improvise. Another suggestion is you can help with the serving and clearing. It will be very appreciated, and it's a great distraction.
And if you're looking for an even bigger distraction, you can try to clear the food while people are still trying to eat it. Talking to people, that's a good distraction.
Depending on your personality, you may want to even entertain. And if you entertain everyone, you don't have to eat then.
You could sing. Well, I don't know if you could sing, but people
Well,
can sing.
You could dance, probably not by a kiddish, but you could come late, you could leave early.
Absolutely.
If it's an event in Brooklyn, then by the time you find parking, it may be very late.
Right. Even if you do find parking, maybe you won't find parking, then you won't even have to go in.
And if it's an event in Lakewood, then you'll probably get pulled over in Howell by one of the cops. So you'll come late there. You could just say hello or mazel tov.
You could take a nap. I don't know where you would be able to take a nap, but I thought that was a good idea.
Yeah.
In some situations.
If you're a guest by someone for the whole Shabbos, you could take a nap in the afternoon.
Yossi, is it a good idea for someone to eat less before the event so that way he or she has more calories?
The short answer is no. It's generally much worse to eat less before and save calories than it is to eat a proper meal before you go.
Why is that?
Because the food that is at these events is typically so much higher in calories and carbs and so much more craving inducing than the food that you will eat beforehand. So it's generally better to eat a proper meal beforehand or a filling snack beforehand. Grapefruit is a very filling fruit. Oat bran is very filling.
Okay, so the take-home message today is you can't just have one plan. You need to have contingency plans for any and all events that might come up. They come up all the time. Weddings, Sheva Brachas, and all of those things.
And that brings us to the end of this episode.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you join us next time.